A thread by Carlos Osuida. If I could write only one thread, this would be the one. This is why Donald Trump must be reelected, and we must keep electing Republican presidents. Let's review. Obama implemented the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, DACA, by fiat. That is, he had no authority to do so. Trump asked the court to rule on the legality of DACA. And this is what Supreme Court Justice Roberts wrote. Quote, "We do not decide whether DACA or its rescission are sound policies. We address only whether the agency complied with the procedural requirement that it provide a reasoned explanation for its action. Here, the agency failed to consider the conspicuous issues of whether to retain forbearance and what, if anything, to do about the hardship to DACA recipients." Got that? The highest court in the land ruled that legality is not an issue. Instead, they decided to rule on whether or not the Department of Homeland Security obeyed and correctly implemented an illegal order. This clears the way for all subsequent presidents to govern by fiat. Chief Justice Roberts says that law enforcement agencies must follow illegal orders. In other words, Roberts says that the Nazi defense is valid. This will allow future presidents to do away with the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which prohibits members of the military from following illegal orders. The next Democratic president can order the military to round up hostages and murder them. As long as the Supreme Court is split 5-4 and Roberts is in charge, we won't have the rule of law in the United States. We'll have the rule of the president. That's called an absolute dictatorship. This is how easily it happens. George W. Bush chose Roberts. Juliet Akinyi collected all of Obama's illegal and/or unconstitutional acts in one place. During the Democratic presidential primary season, every single candidate promised to govern by fiat. Even the moderates like Gabbard, Yang, and Buttigieg. Biden still says he will. And guess what? The Supreme Court will back them up. People keep insisting that the bad faith pretend protests are a threat. Shit's getting real, man. You idiots. You completely missed the greatest threat our republic has ever faced. The Supreme Court has ruled that the entire federal government, including the Department of Defense, must obey illegal orders. Does that clear your heads? Or do you still want to bitch to me about protesters? There is one person standing between freedom and absolute tyranny. His name is President Donald John Trump. He is genuinely our only hope. And he knows it, and he's unafraid. So am I. Like Trump, I trust my gut. I am confident and happy. But everyone out there needs to stop futzing around. All that matters is re-electing Trump and electing Republican presidents until we get at least a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. Chief Justice Vomit Roberts is lawless. Roberts will support a leftist dictator because Roberts is one of those Catholic social justice warriors. I'm Catholic, so this isn't bigotry on my part. When I was a little kid being forced to listen to protest songs in my church, Roberts was a teenager. It was a horrible time. I never got into Catholicism, but when the Catholics let hippies come in and sing strident paeans to revolution and Marxism, it was unbearable. The nuns got all hip and junked their habits. They adopted knee-length dresses. They started smoking cigarettes, using profanity, and said man all the time. Worst pandering I've ever seen. Roberts has no ideology except for concern for the social issue. This is commentary on his Harvard history thesis. One of his other works, Marxism and Bolshevism, theory and practice. Why did so many Germans support Hitler? He helped the poor. He was a social justice warrior. So this is it, kids. This is the moment of truth. The Supreme Court has ruled that the president cannot undertake illegal actions. All of the government must obey all orders. So there is no rule of law. There is only rule of the president and rule of social justice. If we choose incorrectly in November, we lose everything. Guaranteed, for real, absolutely. It will not happen. But you need to clear your heads of the cobwebs. Forget the protests. Sign up to help Trump. This will finally be the most crucial election in our history. If we make the wrong choice, we lose all our freedoms. Again, see how fast and easily it happened? One Supreme Court ruling, and now everything hangs in the balance. And Donald Trump gets it. Supreme Court ruling on DACA makes the president into an absolute dictator. John Roberts wrote that all illegal presidential orders must be obeyed. Roberts changed the rule of law into the rule of president.